It's Phil Collins.
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins. Well, welcome again.
Phil Collins might just be the hardest working man in the history of music. As the drummer and then frontman of Genesis, he led the group from prog rock obscurity to global arena filler status. As a solo artist, he reigned supreme in the charts across the planet, creating a run of hits so iconic that they've become synonymous with the decade that they defined. He produced everyone from members of ABBA to Eric Clapton, played Live Aid on 2 continents on the same day, and lent his unmistakable drums to countless sessions just for the joy of playing. Factor in some brilliant big and small screen acting appearances, the odd Oscar-winning soundtrack, and the single most recognisable drum solo of all time. And you've got the rarest kind of rock and roll fairy tale, one about a man who climbed to the highest heights imaginable, but never lost touch with who he is or why he does what he does. He did it for the love of music. In the last 4 episodes of the Eras podcast on BBC Sounds, we've been telling the full arc of Phil Collins' incredible story. You can listen to the full podcast now. Just search Eras on BBC Sounds. And for our grand finale, it's my pleasure to sit down with the legend himself. Without further ado, I present to you Mr. Phil Collins. Phil, it's lovely to see you again. Thanks for coming to talk to me. The first time I ever saw you, you will definitely not have seen me, but I was quite far back, Wembley Stadium, 1987, Genesis, The Invisible Touch tour. It was a phenomenal night. This 6-minute drum duet between you and Chester. What are your memories of those gigs?
Well, it was fantastic playing at Wembley, you know, being a football fan. And it was the old Wembley, and it had a great spirit about it. We did 4 nights there, which was pretty much unheard of at the time. And every night was memorable, you know. I mean, Mum was still alive, so she came, obviously, and family. But it was just great show to see all the audience, you know. I mean, it was packed. It was very memorable.
Absolutely packed. The weather was glorious.
Yeah.
I remember you had a white shirt on. You barely broke a sweat, Phil. I remember. I'm sure you were up on that stage.
Yeah. The drum duets. When we used to come off stage, the roadies used to have, you know, like Olympic, you know, 7.4, so 8.9 or whatever. But they'd come off with the time.
Yeah.
I'd come off, you know, with Chester at the end of the show, and they'd say, oh, tonight it was 15 minutes, tonight it was 7 minutes. And it was my favourite part of the show, because I didn't have to sing.
A simple question, but a huge question, Phil. Why the drums? People say that instruments find you. Did the drums find you?
My memory tells me I was about 3 or 4. My uncles, and they weren't uncles, they were just very close family friends, but I grew up to call them Uncle Reg and Uncle Len, you know. They bought me a drum, and I can visualise sitting in their back room, you know, cross-legged like a 3 or 4-year-old might be, hitting this drum, plastic thing, with a stick. I took to it, must have taken to it, so much that they actually made me a drum kit. And I used to sit in the living room with my family, play along to the television, Sunday Night London Palladium, things like that. And it just became something I did. I used to practice in front of a mirror, and I don't know why. Certainly wasn't vanity. I used to play with my record player at ear level, and just play along to records. And from there, it just... Then I went to have lessons. I went to a drama school, and I went to have lessons from a drum teacher down the road to try to read music, because I figured that that would be my life. I had it all mapped out. I'd play pop group as long as it lasted. And then I'd do like a show band, like at the Lyceum in London, you know, Saturday nights with a big band. And then I'd end my life in sessions, you know.
So eventually you do end up with Genesis, and we have a message from your bandmate and your friend, Mike Rutherford.
Phil went from being the drummer in the band to becoming a singer of Genesis, which became incredibly popular, then having the most amazing solo career. For a while, he's the most sort of famous musician in the world. And with us in the room, nothing really changed. And that's credit to him, actually.
Nothing really changed, you see, and credit to you. When you first joined Genesis, what were your expectations of this new adventure?
All I remember prior to meeting the guys was, I mean, I was in loads of bands, quite a few bands anyway, that weren't really playing too often, you know. And in Melody Maker, the adverts in the back of Melody Maker they always seemed to be quintessence. And Genesis, they were always in the lists of gigs. So I'd heard of them, but I hadn't heard any music. So anyway, I went down with my friend Ronnie. He drove us down with my drums in the back, and we went to Chobham in Surrey, which was very leafy. I mean, I lived in Hounslow, you know, which was a semi. This was a nice place, yes. It's a bit flash, you know. I mean, houses were separate from each other. Good God, what a concept. I got the drums out of the car, and I was early, as always. They said, well, you want to go for a swim? I thought, swimming pool, back garden, swimming pool. So I went for a swim. And while I was swimming, I heard the other drummers that were before me being taken through the routine. So by the time I came, I knew the stuff, you know. So apparently, according to Peter Gabriel, I mean, as I was setting my drums up and I sat down with such authority that he thought, this guy is the one, this guy can play. I mean, Mike, he refuses to believe this, but he had a smoking jacket on, you know, like Noel Coward. You know,
that's brilliant.
And the grand piano, which was Peter's parents' house, the grand piano was out on the patio, you know. So it was like I was under a sunshade with the drums, grand piano, guy playing in a smoking jacket. I thought, this is another world, you know. So then we went inside to hear the first album, well, the second album actually, but the first album on Charisma, Stratton Smith's label, and that was Trespass. And the first time I heard it, I thought, it's soft. Even the hard bits were soft, you know. It wasn't edgy at all, but anyway, I took the job, and at that point I got £5 a week. Oh no, I was on £5 a week already by the band I was in, but we got up to £10 a week, which was an absolute fortune for me. And even at that time, I could take my girlfriend out, you know, and have a steak dinner for two and still come out with change on a £5 a week, you know. So 10 quid a week was like luxury.
Yeah. Did he ever wear the smoking jacket again?
I never saw it again.
Never saw it again.
And he because he's heard me say this, and he says, oh, I didn't have a smoking jacket. He did.
With the band, what was the first sort of pinch me moment, would you say, with Genesis, where things really started to take off and you're thinking, hang on a minute, we're really going somewhere with this here?
When we got on the front page of Melody Maker, I think, because literally you added a naught to our fee, and it looked like we were important, you know. And I think it was the flower mask or it was the box, this kind of thing you used to put on at the end of Supper's Ready, which was like a red box. You know, I mean, Peter did things that were good for us.
How was it for you going from being the drummer and into the role as singer? Was that sort of seamless for you? As it just felt natural?
Well, it wasn't natural for me. I mean, psychologically, the drums are a safety blanket, you know. You've got something between you and the audience. The first thing I had that scared the life out of me was having to go down the front and stand with just this microphone stand. because there's nothing, you're just exposed. Everyone's looking at you because you're the singer, whereas they didn't look at the drummer. And so I was suddenly under the spotlight, and I wasn't comfortable at all at the beginning. It took me years to take the microphone off the stand and sing with a handheld mic. It was just different. I mean, this is an opportunity to once again say, I didn't want Peter to leave. I didn't want the job. The job was kind of thrust upon me by default because we couldn't find a singer. And suddenly I was at a different job. People were looking at me differently. They wanted to talk to me because I was the singer. But when we were auditioning for singers, I used to lead the auditions by singing the songs for the person to learn. And eventually everyone said, well, you sound better than the people who are auditioning. Do you want to do it? To be fair, I was very reluctant at first, and it was my first wife that said, why don't you do it? And it was at that point where, I bit the bullet. But, then I had to think of what am I going to wear?
Because, of course, you're at the back, you're the drummer, no one cares what you wear.
Boiler suits,
Yeah.
And Peter was known for being this mysterious traveller who would come on, and he became a different person when he sang. I mean, he was a very shy introvert, one-to-one. But when you get him on a stage, he became something else. And, of course, he had his costumes, and I didn't want to wear costumes, I was trying to get as far away from acting as I could, because I'd done acting prior to that, and I really wanted to get away from that. So I had some clothes made. So I went on stage in an orange boiler suit, basically, that was made. Terrible, too tight, everywhere. I mean, it was really uncomfortable.
Oh.
And I went on stage in Kitchener. I remember the gig, Kitchener, Ontario. And, every time I moved, the trousers went up, and it was like, and it smelt too, once you started sweating. I never wore it again, ever. Never wore it again. But eventually I just ended up with, just some baggy trousers and a T-shirt.
Well, I guess as your confidence grew as well as a singer up front, then you needed the disguise less. And the thing is, if Peter hadn't left, if you hadn't got up front, life could have been very, very different, because off the back of that, you then had a solo career, which has been phenomenal, Phil. So in a way, I guess we thank Peter for wanting to do something different, because we might never have had Phil Collins as a solo artist without that sort of turning moment.
There's a lot of people groaning right now.
It's funny you say about groaning, because, in your Imperial era, you were doing so fantastically well. You were Genesis, you're touring, you had your own, your solo career as well. And, people gave you a lot of flack. I'm wondering if that was something that you learnt not to care about. Was it something that bothered you?
I cared about it.
Yeah.
Too much so. At the time, got to remember going back to the beginning, I said I wanted to play. I didn't want to sit around doing one gig a month. And because I was playing well and I was good, people came to me to ask me to play for them, and not only that, they were my heroes. I remember being at home at Guildford and picking up the phone, and it was Robert Plant. And he said, you don't know me, Robert Plant, but I'd seen the first Zeppelin gig, at the Marquee. And he was one of my kind of early heroes. And he said, I'm doing a solo album. Do you want to play drums? And of course, yes. And Eric became a great friend of mine, And he asked me to produce an album. It might have been busy and it might have been everywhere, But for me as a musician, there were reasons.
You mentioned Robert Plant earlier. We spoke to him. He's got a message for you.
He was incredible because his awareness of where he sat within the music, the drive that he gave to the whole thing on a musical level. But we had so much fun. It was nothing but excitement and positivity. I love him, and he must know his presence in my early takeoff post Led Zeppelin was really, really encouraged and supported humorously by my dear friend.
Oh, makes me blush.
Yeah.
John Bonham was one of my favourite drummers, and he, after he'd made that phone call to me, he sent me a tape of his demos, of Robert's demos, and Jason Bonham was playing on them, and he sounded just like his dad. And I couldn't really quite work out why he wanted anybody else. I said I'd do it, certainly, and I went to Rockfield in the studio in Wales, and I don't even know if I'd met him. He had a few friends from Birmingham, on guitar, keyboards and stuff, and I didn't take over. He says I kind of came in and just started running the thing, which I didn't. I just was playing, loving it, and I'd say, we can do it better than that. Let's do it. Let's do one more time. And we had a lot of laughs.
Well, an incredible shared experience as well, having both left, huge bands. There are so many artists that have long sung your praises, like Ice-T, Pharrell Williams, Alicia Keys. What did they hear in your music? What did they get from your music that perhaps some of the people who were critical of you around that time didn't get?
I don't really know. I mean, it's probably when people ring up and say, can you come and do this? Can you come and do that? I think they're expecting a little bit of the in-the-air magic, to be honest. The first 3/4 of the song is quiet, really. And so people would turn the radio up, and then speakers would come out of the sockets. Yeah. So I think that's what it was. But I'm very flattered. I mean, the Urban Renewal album, which was an album full of R&B, hip-hop, rap artists covering my stuff, was very interesting, I mean, some people took great liberties with the songs, and it was really interesting to hear and very flattering.
I think that tune as well, In the Air Tonight, what was it that captivated people so much with that tune, Phil? It is so beloved. I heard it in the car on the radio when I was coming in this morning. Is it, that sort of build of the tension? Is it the fact that all of us who are not drummers have at some point in our lives played along on a steering wheel on the kitchen table? What is it about that tune that has made it so...
I mean, I don't know, because it wasn't my first choice for a single. In fact, it wasn't the first single. I Missed Again was the first single. That was more obvious to me. I mean, obviously, the drums make it memorable. I remember being on Top of the Pops with Dave Lee Travis. And it was 36 in the charts. And he said, this is going to be top 3 next week. I said, no. I'm a drummer, man. It doesn't happen to drummers,
I mean, speaking of amazing drummers, you were able to tour with Nic, your son, who is incredible. With Genesis, I saw you also playing in Hyde Park, where he played with you as well. And if we have a message from Nic.
He'd come by the side of the drum riser on some of the instrumental bits. And at first I was like, oh God, what is he going to critique me on afterwards? And actually he just kind of wanted to just be there. Once I figured out that he wasn't sitting there to kind of judge me, it was a really nice moment every show when he'd sit there. And it was just kind of like having that kind of unspoken moment between each other was really nice. And I'm grateful that he felt confident enough in my ability to go on stage with them and to play these parts.
Your boy.
Yeah, I mean, he surprised the shit out of me, I tell you. I mean, when I was living in Miami, I guess Nic was 16. But I knew he'd been playing. I mean, him and Matthew actually, they had 2 drum kits and my drum kit down in the playroom. And we all used to play together, and then they played together, and then Nic just got better and better. We talked about Genesis going out again. We wanted to do something different. I think it was at the Albert Hall when I saw Mike and Tony Banks. They said, "Your son, Nic, is very good, isn't he?" I said, "Yeah, he is. It's fantastic." So eventually the idea blossomed that maybe he could join Genesis and play on the road with us. And I was like, please God, But he just was fantastic every night. I'm very proud of him.
And he's amazing.
I'm very proud of all my kids. I mean, they've all done incredibly well.
Proud, Phil. They are
Very,
incredible.
very happy for them.
You've spoken about, the illnesses that you've had to cope with that have prevented you sort of from playing on. Have you made peace with that now, do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a 24-hour live-in nurse to make sure I take my medication as I should do. I've had challenges with my knee. I had everything that could go wrong with me did go wrong with me. I mean, I got COVID in hospital. My kidneys started to pack up. Everything that could all seem to sort of converge at the same time. I had 5 operations on my knee. Now I've got a knee that works and I can walk, albeit with assistance, crutches or whatever. I'd probably been drinking too much, and so my kidneys were messed up. I mean, I enjoyed coming off tour, coming off the road, but I thought, right, I'm going to do all those things I couldn't do.
You couldn't do before.
So, I stopped drinking at 6 o'clock in the evening. I wasn't one of those guys that sort of stayed up all night drinking. I'd drink during the day, but I guess I had too much of it. I was never drunk, although I fell over a couple of times. But it's just one of those things that happened, and it all caught up with me, and I spent months in hospital. I mean, the other day, Lindsay, my wonderful assistant secretary, does everything, she came back with an inflatable 2. And I said, 2? Who's 2? And she said, no, it's 2 years since you had a drink. It's just been a difficult, interesting, frustrating last few years.
Yeah.
But it's all right now.
And congratulations on the 2. That's, Well, you look back at your incredible body of work, Phil. Look at this moment with the crowd singing Sussudio back to you is amazing. Do you have good feelings thinking back through everything and, what incredible achievements and...
I'd love to do it again.
Yeah.
Seeing things like that. We had a great time, I mean, we enjoyed ourselves every night. The audience sang along with pretty much everything, especially on the last couple of tours. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Sometimes I feel like, wouldn't it be nice if? And I'm sure I could. Certainly, physically I could. I just don't know if I want to go as far as to launch that boat. Because once you launch it, it's difficult to unlaunch it.
Never say never, Phil.
Never say never, no.
Yeah. I know everyone would love to see you play again. Yeah.
They wouldn't believe me.
Yeah.
Final farewell tour, they're not dead yet, still not dead yet.
I know, I love it. Your sort of never-ending farewell tours, and but you can understand, I'm imagining, as an artist who loved what you did and loved singing for these huge crowds and playing for these huge crowds. Well, that never leaves you, I imagine. That feeling of wanting to perform never really leaves you.
No, it doesn't. I mean, the trouble is, if there is a trouble, is that once you start, where do you stop?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about South America, I'm talking about Australia, Asia, you know, you can't just get up and play a couple of places in England and expect to get away with it.
You could get away with it as far as we're concerned. Yeah, the rest of the world will be like, hang on a minute, what about us? This is a very good point. Phil, what has life taught you, do you think, you know, through all the adventures you have had, the amazing bands that you've played with, people you've performed with, you've got an incredible family as well, 5 amazing kids.
Well, I guess there's a part of me that's certainly a part of me that's trying to make up for things that I've either done or have made people feel or affected the kids in any kind of negative way. You know, kids seeing their mum and dad argue and not having a dad around. I mean, without getting morose about it or maudlin, it's things like that. I mean, I had a very happy family life. Yeah. My kids are amazingly well adjusted, considering some of the things that they've been through, you know. And I'm, as I said before, I'm very, very proud of all of them. They've all, you know, stood on their own and done what they believe in. So I feel very lucky about that. But I think, you know, I couldn't have wished for a more varied and eventful playing career. I don't have periods when I kind of dig me. The things that are ahead for me would be, apart from just being back to being totally mobile and healthy, is to maybe go in there and have a fiddle about and see if there's more music. Yeah. Because, you know, you tend to sort of feel, that's it, I've done that. But you've got to start doing it to see if you can do it. Otherwise, you don't do it. So that is something on my horizon.
Watch this space. Oh, please get back in the studio. Just go and have a little tinkle. See how it goes, Phil.
I've got some things that are half formed or were never finished. Yeah. And a couple of things that were finished, which I like. So, you know, maybe life in the old dog yet. You'll see.
And on that note, Phil, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. I've loved hearing
That's my pleasure.
Stories.
My pleasure. It's very nice messages.
Yeah, wonderful.
You know how to make a guy feel good.
Well, so you should. You should feel good.
Thanks,
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you once again to the man himself, Phil Collins, for that conversation. And thanks to you for joining us. If you haven't caught the first 4 episodes of the Era's Phil Collins podcast, what are you waiting for? Just search Era's Phil Collins on BBC Sounds or wherever else you get your podcasts. Whilst you're there, you'll find other incredible Era stories on the Beatles, Kylie, Sting, Queen and Bob Marley. If you're loving this series of Eras, there's loads more to enjoy. For more music, archive and interviews from the Beatles, ABBA, Queen and Kylie Minogue, search Eras on BBC Sounds.
Well, Phil Collins, $4.49 from Sound Shop at Boots.
Sound your caught. Up with the bullets at Sound Shop.
Phil Collins, The Platinum Collection. 3 platinum albums, 1 great value collection. Face value, no jacket required, and But Seriously. 3 classic albums at a very special price. Phil Collins, The Platinum Collection. A great gift for Father's Day.
The new album from Phil Collins. But seriously,
Think twice, 'cause it's another day for you and me in paradise.
Night tonight, yo. How embarrassing. I guess I thought that I could do the singing, drumming, and the reporting on the new Genesis tour, but I suppose I can't. So that's why we're looking for our own MTV correspondent, and that's why we need you.
Assignment Genesis. As official Genesis tour correspondent, you'll travel with the band from LA to New York, then board the band's Concorde jet and fly to Europe for their historic non-stop, no-sleep Paris concert 18 hours later. You'll hang with Phil, Mike, and Tony, cover each live outdoor stadium concert, then file your report on MTV News. You can bring a friend along to do your legwork, and to get that really expensive information, we'll give you $5,000,
eh? I could get a hair transplant for that.
Plus, you'll get tour gear by Michelob. To enter, send us an audition tape, 2 minutes or less, 3/4 inch or VHS, of you acting like a rock correspondent. Genesis will view and pick the winner.
Tonight's performance represents a triumph of Anglo-Saxon sang-froid over...
Next!
I
think we're looking for English here.
Send your tape and your name, address, and phone number to Assignment 1775 Broadway, New York, New York 10019. Then get ready to cover the hottest rock story of the year.
This is your chance to rip the lid off Genesis.
Assignment Genesis.
Eat your heart out, Dan Rather.